The new Prime Minister Matteo Renzi won his first vote of confidence in Parliament after pledging to cut labour taxes and pass broad institutional reforms. I'm joined by Sergio Rossi from the University of Fribourg in Switzerland. So do you think Renzi will be able to deliver his promises and not break EU budget rules?
Well, a lot will depend on the political support he will receive from both left and right-wing parties, Berlusconi's and Social Democrats in Italy. And of course, it is necessary now to cut labor taxes to increase investment, employment and consumption. But in the end, it might be observed that the public deficit might suffer over the short run because, of course, all these decisions will take time to be put into practice and also to see how economic agents will react against them. And in particular, a lot will depend on the firm's confidence about the future and the need for households to repay also their debts before they will increase their consumption activity, of course.
Renzi said yesterday that the government may hike tax on government bonds. How much revenue would this bring to the economy and how much of a help do you think it will be?
Well, for the time being, it's not possible to predict how much fiscal revenue this decision will bring, as it much depends on agents' forms of behavior. But the idea is to help poor people with this revenue, and this might, of course, increase their consumption, hence employment levels, economic activity, and in the end, the public sector might also benefit from a higher tax revenue. And now all will depend on how those holding these government bonds will react, because Renzi announced that it might be between 20 and 23% the tax on the revenue. And of course, they might decide to sell these revenues and perhaps to non-residents in Italy, and this might also provoke some turmoil on financial markets. So the spread might increase on Italian government bonds, and once again, the European Union will have to intervene, and the Italian government will have to provide some further austerity plans. So all is still to settle.
Household consumption remains low, and many don't expect the unemployment figures to fall. Renzi has promised to tackle soaring unemployment. How do you think he will do this, and do you think he will be able to stop it rising by the end of the year?
Well, of course, in Italy, as in a number of other EU countries, the unemployment figures are the most urgent and dramatic problem to address. But now it depends how one will address them and this problem. And of course, there are two possibilities, either from the demand side or from the supply side. And I would suggest to address the problem from both sides, as it is really a macroeconomic problem. And now, well, the Italian government, and Renzi in particular, has also announced that a number of spending review plans will be carried out, namely to reduce the costs of politics, to reduce bureaucracy, to increase the efficiency of public spending and of the public administration at large. But this is not enough. Renzi has also suggested that a number of public expenditure will consider increasing the level of the labor force education and also addressing the renovation of a number of school buildings, because in Italy the education landscape is really dramatically poor now, and all this will take time. I would suggest perhaps towards the end of the decade we will see some positive effects.
In the final 3 months of last year, the Italian economy grew for the first time since 2011. This is positive and brings some hope. However, many believe this year is filled with risks. What are your main concerns for growth?
For the time being, the economic growth rate is very weak, and still growth is fragile in Italy, also because a number of Italian banks have a number of balance sheet problems in light of the euro area crisis in particular. So I think that the main concerns will come from the huge insecurity in the labor market, because a number of workers have a short-term job agreements and they don't know what the future will be like for them. And also a number of pension schemes will have to be reformed, pension rents will be reduced, so a number of pensioners will also perhaps decide to reduce their spending. And first and foremost, I think that a number of small and medium-sized firms in Italy have a too low level of investment, especially in research and development activities, and this will also be a drag on economic growth, actually. So if the Renzi government is going to be successful, once again, this will be observed towards the end of the decade, and I'm not sure that both the politicians, the population, and also financial market participants will be ready or in a position to wait for the end of the decade to see an improvement in the Italian economic situation. For 2014, I think that the growth rate of the Italian economy will be lower than 1%, between 0.5 and 1% in nominal terms.
Sergio, thank you very much. Well, viewers, do stay tuned as we have plenty more interviews coming your way.